Bray J here with you, LA on Air, here at Stellar Beans. Very honored to be sitting with Nick Moss. We talked about him on the show recently, and we've been airing his music. And just released his new, we're calling it a mixtape, even though a lot of his supporters have been referring to it as the album, or EP. I'm going to go with what Nick wants to call it. So his mixtape from the Church Pews. And, of course, we've been playing Heaven Only Knows, and it's been going very well. People are loving it. So how are you doing today, first of all?
I'm good, man, always.
Well, we appreciate you setting aside time for us. Now, but let's dive into this, because I want you to be able to clarify and educate our listeners on how this process works. So we begin, and you're explaining to me this way. Let's see if I got it straight in my mind. You begin with lots of content, and you ended up releasing Born Again, obviously, which was your introduction, I guess, to everyone, right?
Yeah.
Explain that for us a little bit. Explain how that came about.
Born Again was, man, it's just the fact that I was more on the side of that I needed material out to kind of show people that, hey, you know, I'm really a gospel artist now. And then in the process, I started figuring out that I actually have to have a ministry that comes with it. You can't just, you know, do gospel music and want to reach people and not have a ministry with it. So then I started looking deeper into that, and I started reading up on, you know, real ministry, trying to reach people. And then Born Again came.
And understand that here now we're looking at your new mixtape from the Church Pews, and you were explaining to me that some of the content you had was actually produced prior to Born Again being released. However, you had to release Born Again before you could introduce them to that content, which, in case you didn't know, listening in, a lot of artists are having, you know, to make that big decision, like, well, when do I release this part? So I admire you for making the big decision and holding off, because I know you want to share it so much with your listeners, but at the same time, you have to, it's a process. So looking now, and let's recall the date. When did you release your mixtape?
January 17th.
Okay. Huge weekend. Obviously, that was basically the opener to Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, and which was, again, a huge weekend here in Southwest Louisiana as well as worldwide. Talk to us about that moment. I'd love to. I was up at 11:40-something, and I saw your post on Facebook that you said, you know, at midnight we're doing it. And I had to stay up just to celebrate that moment with you, because it's huge. But talk to me about that. How was that for you that night going into it?
It was kind of just like reliving the Born Again release, kind of, because it's my second. I mean, maybe if it was like the third or fourth, I wouldn't be so. But it's like my second. I wanna know, you know, if it's coming out the right way. I want to know if the listeners are really listening when they say they're gonna listen. I want to know, you know. I just want to know that it's going to be out there, and I want to know the support that, you know, that I've been having. I want to know if they're still going to be there, you know, as they were for Born Again. And really a lot more people were expecting it, you know, anticipating it from the Born Again one. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty big.
And how does that process work? At midnight, do you click a button that says, you know, go live? How does that part work?
Yeah, well, we put it online like a week before, and it's just sitting there private. And then at 11:50, I, you know, unprivated it, so it give them time to get the links ready and stuff. So people that have the links could go and post it at 12 and stuff like that. So that's what we pretty much waited for. It was just 12 to post a link.
It was kind of funny at midnight. Okay, again, I'm about to go to sleep. I messaged probably about 10 to 15 people, and I'm like, listen to this, listen to this. And a few of them were like, we know. Like, they were waiting to, like, they knew it was happening. Like, you don't have to tell us. And I just thought that was cool. It's like, people are paying attention. So kudos to you for that. You've captured the attention at midnight of people here in the Lake area. So let's dive in. Let's talk about content-wise. How does it work for you as an artist? How do you sit down and think about lyrics first, and then you attach the music, or do you hear the music in your mind, or is it in the moment? How does it work?
Well, my whole thought process is pretty much like, I just want to know that I can go and pray. And I mean, making music, especially, gospel music, for me, it's how do you want to talk to God? A lot of people just say, I could rap, I could do this, I could show God that I could, But me, I just want to be able to pray. And I pretty much put that into my lyrics when I start writing. And I'm like, at first it was just about writing my prayers. And then one of my songs, I actually say that I write prayers that don't relate to me, because as much as I could write for myself, I want to be able to write to mirror my life for somebody else too. And that's pretty much how it goes. As far as like music, I don't really need the music to write. I just need to know that, because I don't need music to pray. So that's pretty much how it is.
I love that. And the reason why I love that even more is because I've come across so many people who say, how do you pray? Or what do I pray? And the fact to know that listening to your music is not just rap, it's not just inner feelings you have or inner words you want to express to the public, they're prayers. And every time I think we're listening, it's almost like we're sharing in that prayer with you. So that's really rich. I love that. Now, obviously, it's a mixtape, so you work with so many different artists and singers and vocalists. And how did that work? How did you get them to join in with this awesome project of yours?
The first one I really had was Heaven Only Knows. Now, Heaven Only Knows is not really the mixtape track. It's really the album track. It was just placed on the mixtape because I had been performing it a lot and people have been requesting it so much, so I had to place it on there, which was featured with Devin Porter. And she works with the guy whose studio that I recorded. And she was there when I was writing the song. And I actually had wrote it before, but she was there when I was, letting them hear the song, letting them hear how it goes. And she has a real churchy soul voice, and it kind of fit at the right time. So, man, we was just going along with it, and I didn't really have a hook for it. I was thinking of like some choir stuff in it, and she just started singing like, nobody knows what to put on it, so she just started singing Heaven Only Knows, and it just fit perfect. And then and I got Black Card ATM. We go way back since I was kind of doing the hip hop, but I always like to work with people who have a purpose as far as like putting out a message, and he has a real deep message about what's really there. And I have 20 Twin, of course. He's another gospel artist. He's more of the discipline type of gospel artist. Like he'll give it to you raw, give it to you, how it needs to be given to you. And I always like to work with him because he really, puts it out there, because he really came from what he talks about, And then I have a few samples on there from Pastor Harris at Mount Olive, of course. He had a real message that really inspired me, and it's actually on track 1. And that's kind of how it starts off, with that very first prayer. And then, I have a few more samples from Reverend Clay Evans. The song "There's Room at the Cross." And I actually have Clayton Jennings. He's a poet. He's kind of a spoken word, and he's real famous. And he just had a deep message that I felt like needed to be right there in the middle. Like, before you even cross over to feeling the rest of the album, I need you to stop for a second and listen to this. And that's about all the features I have. You mentioned Reverend Harris, and one thing that always sticks out in my mind, and he prayed this prayer, and obviously it's a longer prayer, but he ends usually with the same ending, and I love it. And I'm not going to be able to quote him directly, but here in Southwest Louisiana we have several towns and cities and neighborhoods, and of course someone's coughing. Hopefully they don't die on us. He always refers to I believe he says, from Gosport to Graywood,
from Moss Bluff to Mossville. And I love that because talk about a prayer. I mean, it's one thing to just pray for the region, and obviously God hears all our prayers. But when it comes down to specific areas, and then from that sense referring to areas of different socioeconomic statuses and all of that, that is so amazing to me. So I love to hear when he prays that. It's like, yeah, like you're reaching the people.
Actually, that prayer, when he starts saying, help me remember you, that prayer is based off of my Help Me Remember You song.
Wow.
And I found that out actually myself last year, 4th of July, when he did it at the Civic Center. And I had just performed at his church maybe 2 weeks before that. And then I saw him at the Civic Center again. He was like, you heard my prayer? And he was like, what did it remind you of? And I was like, kind of my song. And he was like, yeah, that's kind of where it come from.
Wow.
So I'm real honored for that, too.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. So, as an artist in Southwest Louisiana, in Lake Charles, well, what is your hope? Are you wanting to grow and become a national or international recording artist or rapper, or would you like to, is it truly just a home base thing that you're doing out of love, and if it goes somewhere, cool. If not,
I mean, really, I'm following God, because times I didn't think some stages I wouldn't step on, that next Sunday I was on them stages. Like places I thought I wouldn't, walk across, the next day I was walking across them places. So, man, I'm really just following God. I'm just trying to make sure that people can say, like, if there's no other music they can listen to, they can listen to my music, because, I'm not really just rapping to you. I'm letting you know that you can, even if you can't pray, you could just listen to my music and feel like I'm praying for you with my music. So I'm just trying to reach, really, just reach.
Is there anything that you want to share with the public that they may not know about you, or any message that you'd like to get out?
Man, the only thing I can say really is it's not just rap. Like when I start looking into the ministry side of it, I have to leave my music in there somewhere. And like it's when I go to people and I say, listen to this, and they like, what kind of music is it? And I'm like, I'm a gospel rap artist or whatever, and they kind of edgy about listening to it because it's rap. But really, if I could get them to just listen to one song and see that it's not just rap, we just don't know what to call it yet. That's pretty much the only thing I would have to say.
So, to all of our listeners, you want them obviously to check out your art form. Where do you send them to find out more about Nick Moss and the masterpiece that you've now released?
You could go to nickmoss.bandcamp.com. That's nickmoss.bandcamp.com. That's where all of my gospel music is. And then I post my links on my Facebook, which you can find me at Nick Moss on Facebook, and Instagram _NICKMOSS. And I pretty much keep all my updates on there as far as my music and upcoming events and stuff.
All right, well, definitely we're going to check that out. And like I said, I've already listened, and I don't know, I love it. I can feel the authentic place that it comes from, and I'm all about that with music. We have so many artists that approach us now, especially that we have the show off the ground and going. They're like, oh, will you play our music? And I say, of course, we want to support local artists. Tell me about your music. And sometimes they'll let me listen to it. And we play all types, all genres, all backgrounds, from the major recording studio to the home studio to it was recorded on the phone almost. We're willing to play it. We want it to have good quality, but I want substance. I want people who are sending out a message, whether it's a message that I directly agree with or just a message you feel, but I want it to have substance. I don't want it to be just some, you know what I mean? And that's why I'm so impressed with you. And Blackheart ATM, again, he's the one who first introduced me to you. And he's one of those people, whenever he tells me, hey, you need to know this person, or I'm working with this person, I take interest because he's serious about what he's doing. So an honor to finally meet you. And, of course, we wish you all the best. Anything we can do to help in the future, please let us know. And support our music.